Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of El Caile podcast. I didn't make a big enough deal last time, but this is our holiday season. I think our tree is looking less and less scary like every episode. Because last episode it was kind of creepy, but I think it's looking like a little bit better. And we have a lot of cool stuff going on for the holiday season. December is my birthday month, so even if I have like a bad birthday or sometimes like I never have a bad birthday. Maybe some birthdays are less exciting than others, but I just always have a good time during the holidays because that's when I was born. And I was going to say that's when Jesus was born, or so you thought. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about all the roots of Christmas that I found. And I feel like as I was reading all the material and watching the YouTube videos it was mostly YouTube videos, but as I was listening to it, it really gave me a lot of downloads about Christmas now. So last episode we did talk about the way we celebrated Christmas when we were growing up. And I think like I wasn't in Mexico for long enough. I came here when I was 4, so I don't really remember that much how it was over there. But I feel like in the US, there's like a really specific brand of consumerism that happens here. So I feel like the people here too, like we're a little bit slower, you know? Everybody knows that. Like in the world, the education here is not bad. Well, yeah, pretty bad. The education here is not good. The food here is not good. So when all of these things happen where it's like a mass happening, like a mass event, I feel like it hits the US so hard. And then we're able to produce culture from the hits we take from stuff like that, like mass phenomenon. But obviously there's, consequences or just byproducts of that. So I did happen to find so much notes about Christmas and the origins of Christmas. But to me, the most interesting one is one called Saturnalia, because my birth chart is ruled by Saturn. And also, like, just before I start all of this, I am not Christian, like fully. I'm not a practicing Christian, but I do love Christ. I love Jesus. Like, Jesus is one of my best friends I ever had, probably my best friend I ever had. And I didn't come into Christianity till after I explored spirituality vastly. Like, I had read tarot already. I understood like the concepts of Carl Jung. And I know that's not religion, but it's like archetypes and Greek mythology and stuff like that. And basically just practiced dark arts at a young age. So when I came into Christianity, I came in with like a really broad perspective. So I speak broadly when it comes to these things. And so I was starting to say that my birth chart is ruled by Saturn. So when I hear Saturnalia, I feel like it just strikes a chord, you know, like something deep inside me like recognizes that. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if that's good or bad. And Will's like, no, that's not good. He's like, el demonio. No, but seriously. Okay. So Saturnalia basically was a festival that would happen in ancient Rome. And basically this festival was to celebrate the god Saturn, right? And apparently it was a time where they would like not worship but remember and observe Saturn, because apparently supposedly dicen ellos that in the golden age when Saturn ruled was abundant. Like there was no difference between kings and servants. There was no kings and servants. Everybody was like bountiful, plentiful. There was no such thing as like scarcity. Everybody got along, and stuff like that. Like I feel like also there was the animals talk to each other and stuff like that. Like the animals could talk during that time. You could eat as much as you wanted, and they never died. The only way that they would like cease to be is if they felt really sleepy, and then they would fall asleep and then they would like pass away. So it was like this really peaceful time. But then apparently Saturn actually dethroned his dad Uranus, I think. don't quote me if I'm wrong. Hold on, I have notes actually, so I was trying to wing it, but I'm strong and smart, but that not that strong. Okay. Turns out Saturn dethroned his father. Oh, I didn't even write what his father's name was, but he dethroned his father. I think it was Uranus, and he got really paranoid because since he did that, there was another prophecy that one of his sons was gonna take his throne. So he got paranoid, and Saturn started eating his children. And the golden age started to decrease because he fucked up and started eating his children. Like, who the fuck does that? Why would you eat your children? And then humans started to decrease. So we were like hella lit, never died. Like, eat whatever you want. Like, cooking up all the time. Good food. Bricked up. Nice place, nice hug. Bricked up. Like, everything was good. And then Saturn fucked up and killed and started eating his kids. So then, Zeus, who was his kid, also had to come and strike him and kill him. And then after that, like humans started decreasing in like powers and like special. We weren't as special. Like then it was the bronze and then the other eras that were not as lit. And apparently Saturnalia was a time where they remembered this time, right? So they would have this huge party in the street, and it would usually run from like the 17th to the 23rd, and during that time there would be a fake court that would assign fake kings. So all the peasants, okay, this is the good part right here, all the peasants would become kings and exchange gifts and be in the street and like party and drink, and like they were almost like encouraged to be violent and like hook up and do like crazy shit because they were enslaved the rest of the year. So during this time, they were able to run free and be the kings and party and do whatever they wanted for those 3 days, right? So, I mean, just like, I feel like that's good food for thought because think about that, okay? They were enslaved all year long. And on this day, they were like free to do what they wanted. They were free to spend their money. They were free, like all of these things, right? Another thing I found out, because obviously like you read up on these things and some of it is good, especially if you practice like paganism yourself. Usually there are people who still observe like or ¿cómo se dice? Celtic or Celtic, no sé, esos de los güeros, but they have that like the little witchy, like Wiccan stuff. We all had that teacher that was like gray hair, turquoise jewelry, los guaraches que son tenis de abajo, pero es un guarache. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's a sneaker, but I see es guarache encima with socks and like a long flowy skirt, and she smelled like patchouli oil. That bitch was Wiccan. So you know somebody who was that. So those people, they still observe, and it's like this cute Saturnalia, like, oh yeah, the Greeks. But I read that all of the history that came from that time, like, was written by philosophers who were the 1%. So you don't really know how the slaves felt about it. There are some philosophers that were slaves, and apparently they say that it was not that lit. Like there's a lot of history that says it was lit and it was fun, but then there's some history that was written by a potential slave or like a peasant that was like, nah, like they were still fucked up. And there's even some philosophers that say this is bullshit because I would never let a slave in my house. Or I would never let a slave touch my shit. Or I would never let a slave run free and make a mockery of me, right? So all of this stuff is like with a grain of salt, right? So back in the day, they would worship this god and have this party and like go crazy. And throughout time, obviously, these things change, but they don't change that much. And I feel like that's kind of what I was getting out of all of the history is like, eventually, you know, it happened that Christianity started taking over like everywhere, and the Christian church was having a hard time getting the pagan people to obey and to be Christian. So what they would do, and it was really convenient for them, especially in the Catholic Roman churches, they would basically just merge all of these pagan holidays together. So basically like Christmas, which is December 25th, and we believe it to be the birth of Christ, and we believe like the star on the tree to be like the Star of Bethlehem and like, you know, like all of this imagery, like the Virgin Mary with the baby, and it's like, oh, it's the mother of God, y eso otro. But really, there's like roots of different gods that was a virgin, different gods that was a man who came from, like, I know there was a man that came from a rock and he was very similar to Jesus. He was also born around barn animals and stuff like that. So everything has like a deeper root, you know? And it was funny because, you know, that new Kendrick Lamar video? And he's in that room, and then like the room starts getting filled up with different imagery. And there's this part where the people from Soul Train, I think it is, right? And there's like that board, and then on the board there's a phrase, and apparently that phrase means everything means something, or like everything represents something. And I feel like for the times right now, Kendrick Lamar put that video out, and that's such a powerful phrase right there. Like everything means something. Everything in that video has carried through time, like the images, the characters, like just the visuals in that video have carried through time. And then he's coming to make like a huge declaration of his culture, of where he's from, right? And then he brought all of those images and like beliefs and theories and everything to the forefront and like displayed it. So I feel like every Christmas we do that. Every Christmas we're the peasants and we're enslaved all year long. We're enslaved all year long. You go to work, you clock in, you cash that check, you pay your bill, and maybe you don't buy shit. Like maybe you don't buy shit for people. Maybe you don't buy shit for yourself. And every day you're just clocking in and clocking out. And then on Christmas, you're lit. Everybody gets gifts. All of a sudden you're rich. All of a sudden you're the king. All of a sudden, like, people are outside dressed up in like hella coats and everyone feels a little bit better. When I was reading that history and seeing how the themes carry over, like they're super interesting themes. Like, sorry, I'm like, literally there's like a whole page of notes that I was just watching a bunch of videos and looking for materials, like articles and stuff like that, papers that people wrote. So I read this thing that said that December 21st was considered the day, it's like this Latin phrase that was it's a Latin phrase that basically is the festival of the god who never dies. And he was the sun god Mithras. And Mithras basically was also believed to be very similar to Jesus nowadays. Like, obviously, back then, they didn't know who Jesus was because Christianity hadn't come into the picture yet. But now when you look back, it's like, oh, these stories are similar. So what they did was, so at the time, the pagan people were, like, super into their gods, which is natural. Because if you think about it, like, okay, think about the winter months, right? It's so fucking cold. Everybody's inside. If you don't need to talk to somebody, you do not fucking talk to them. You're not outside, like, socializing, right? You're, like, in your house, trying to stay warm, trying not to die. Trying not to die. Trying for your house not to fucking fall from the storm, from the snow. For your kids not to fucking get hypothermia. And literally, I se quedan tiesos los niños. I swear, right? Like, so I feel like they were so obsessed with their gods, especially during that time, because they were risking death. Like, wasn't no heater over there. Like, wasn't no, you know, they didn't have a coat, a scarf, nothing. So I feel like there was a lot of devotion happening then. And I think that that's literally why the traditions stay so close to the real thing, because people were like really putting their all into it. And same, again, to bring it all the way back, is like when you observe something and when you give it importance in your life and when you give it attention, I feel like now that we have media and data and we have algorithms, you know that the most important currency is attention. That's it. At the end of the day, like, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Sorry, I feel like I had a booger for a little bit, but yeah, I guess enough. What is it? Bitcoin? How much is it? 100,000. Just hit 100,000. Bitcoin just hit 100,000. Go crazy! Merry Christmas! Woo, woo. Peasants on top, bitch. Weirdos on top. Bitcoin just hit 100,000. It's too late to buy. No, I'm just kidding. It's about to shit itself. Look, everybody's pulling profits. Will's about to pull his profits right now. He's like, I gotta get my Christmas gifts. 150. Okay. 150. We'll call you guys back. I already pulled my shit out. You did? How much? How much was it when you pulled it out? Oh, you didn't check how much it was? You needed it that bad? Damn. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Gio. I had to get you back because you've been backing on me because Ewing's rejected me. I know. Rejection therapy. My therapist said I needed it at one point. What was I? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was saying these people were so devoted to these spirits because they were risking death. Like, they were risking death. They could easily die. So I feel like they were just so reverent. Like, it was such a passion for this shit that it has managed to be here now. Like, for example, the pine tree. The pine tree was believed to be a spirit because it wouldn't die in the winter. So they didn't have like, the texts were limited. I feel like the science was limited. And also, maybe they were literally so connected to the earth that they could feel the spirit in the tree. Like, how, you know what I mean? I always think about stuff like that. Like, you know that movie, Hereditary? Have you ever seen that movie, Hereditary? And they behead, like, the 3 people and stuff like that. So that movie, like, literally as soon as I watched it, it was so funny because I watched it with my friend Bibbs. And we were laying in my bed, and the computer was like between us like this. And that movie was so scary. I would literally jump and the fucking laptop would fly in the air. Like, that's not a good movie to watch with the laptop or the iPad in the bed because I swear the shit would fly in the air and I would be so scared. And as soon as the movie was over, I closed it. I closed the tab and I was like, I need to know what this movie is about because this movie's like hella scary. So it turns out that in a lot of demonology books, the story of that demon with that same emblem is in there. So they made a fucking ode to a demon that is real. Like, and I think about like olden times where there was no TVs, there was no phones, nothing. How the fuck can they tell each other how this shit looks? Like, they all saw it, bro. They all saw it. That thing came to their house. That thing came to the field where they were working. Because they were limited things. Like, you probably were in the town square, in the market, buying fucking turnips. I don't know what they're doing. You know, like, what were they doing back then? I don't know, churning butter, like, fighting with your man. Why didn't you take the water inside? Now there's bugs in it. Like, you know, that's what like, something. And they're talking about a demon, se les aparece, machine, like they see it. And then another person's talking about the same demon. Then another person's talking about they seen it too. Now there's a book about it. Now there's a movie about it. And I'm like, how did this transcend so much? You know, it's like, because this shit is real. Okay, so they thought the pine tree was a spirit. So they would bring the pine tree inside during the winter months para que los cuidara, because they thought that, well, you don't die. Come in my house so that we don't die. Then they would bring it offerings. They would bring it orbs to represent the sun god. They would bring it presents and they would decorate it. So that's why we do that. Like, literally, that's why we do that. That's why you bring the tree inside. That's why you hang ornaments on it. And nobody's telling you that. And I got a bone to pick with the priest at my church in Richmond because how come they don't ever talk about no shit like that in the church? And like, you're doing all the things. Like, they see it. El señor, el papa, el que dice joto igual que yo. I want to get him on the phone. El señor igual que yo que dice joto igual. Y que les dijo puros jotos aquí in the ministry. I want him to tell me, does he know about Nimrod and Mithras and and the tree is the spirit and stuff like that? And why don't, like, I feel like you go your whole life and nobody ever tells you this shit. And it's not because they don't want to tell you. It's because nobody told them. So now we're just like in this mass hysteria of pagan worship. Doesn't it sound so crazy to say that? Like, we're in a mass hysteria of pagan worship, and it's so lit. But I think it's because we're the 1% writing the story now, right? Because think of the people that it's not lit for. So that's what I think about. I think about being a slave, being a peasant, and then thinking that during December, that January, February, the credit card company is not going to come get your ass. Like, that's the gag right there, right? Like, being that and being like, I'm the king now and I'm going to turn up in the street. And then thinking that when we go back to normal, your boss is not going to treat you like, bro, if you make out with your boss at the Christmas party, let me tell you, girl. Let me tell you, girl. You're not getting that raise, okay? I'm just kidding. You might. Try it. Hey, at the company parties, I would get fucked up. Max, if he has another IPC party this year, I'm wearing my sneakers. This year, hey, I'm requesting songs from the DJ. Play Whip That Trick. Play Whip That Trick. Whip That Trick. In the sneakers. In the dress and the soccer cleats. No, just kidding. Oh my god, you guys are so funny. Okay, so sorry, we got off track. So yeah, I think about these things and I think about how we're the new, and I've been seeing a lot of tweets. We talked about this, me and Louie were talking about this the other days. I see a lot of tweets being like, Christmas is boring now, or like the traditions aren't happening, or like it always takes this one person to keep the family together. Usually it's the grandmas. Like if the grandmas pass away or the grandmas like stop showing up, they get a boyfriend or something, or will be stealing her, you know. Then your Christmas is done. Like the other kids don't get together or something like that, right? And then I see a lot of rebuttal that's like, well, we're the new grown-ups. Like now we're adults. Like the 20-something-year-olds to like the 30-something-year-olds that were the kids. Now we're the adults. Like we have to do the traditions. We have to host. Okay, but let's talk about that because what house, bitch? The housing crisis. Like, where do you want me to host you? How am I gonna buy a house? Like, what the fuck? Okay, sure. Let's do it at your house, mom. But seriously, like, you got a house. I should have fucking bought a house instead of being in 3rd grade. Yeah, that was my fucking mistake. I should have been saving instead of playing with my fucking Pokemon cards. No, but really, like, we're the new adults. We have to make the traditions. So everybody look for your emails. I sent you a newsletter. I sent you a newsletter. Has a coupon. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to do no shit like that. You guys are lucky if you get a gift from me. I don't even care. I'm going to the club. No, I'm just kidding. I know I love Christmas. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. And I think, I know I just crashed out. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. And I always just think how it is mass hysteria, right? Even like getting off of work, like right before Christmas break, bro, you're in the fucking trenches, like in the weeds at that point. Everything is like Christmassy, loud, busy. Everyone's eating. For some reason, everyone comes over. Like, why do guests use so much toilet paper? I always feel like I always have to go get toilet paper during the holidays, right? Like, what are you guys doing in there with all the fucking toilet paper? Why? I feel like when I go to someone's house, I do not use the whole roll like that. Anyways, it gets really busy and holiday cheer, right? People are like, oh, it's holiday cheer. And Louis like, everyone acts like humans and all this. And I'm like, wow, that's holiday cheer is funny that we say that because it was mass hysteria. Like, it was mass hysteria that the holiday, the Christmas holidays, those winter holidays, they started off as mass hysteria. That's the root of a holiday. All of the traditions we do, like, is around that, is trying not to die. And, like, pagan worship. Like, I love it, you know? It's just, it's lit. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, you thought it was bad. It's gonna get, like, I feel like during this time where everyone starts waking up, it's gonna get good. Like, the conversations are gonna get really good. You think the aliens make fun of us during the holiday season?
I think they're here for it.
I saw people fighting over TVs the other day. I was like, we're so fucking back. USA, USA. No, I'm just kidding. I love. Hey, listen, you do whatever the fuck you want, okay? Con que estén bien, con que estén bien. Like, I don't know. You're only here. Like, you're here for a good time, you know. Sometimes I do get. Obviously, I get worried about the environment and stuff like that. You know, like I get in my, I get in my environmental bag, but I feel like as I'm getting older, I just want to relax and like obviously worry about that. That's a priority. Don't fucking litter, like do the things, but also like take part and enjoy your life. But always keep in mind where your attention is going. Always keep in mind that you're in you're in a situation where like everyone is looking one way, and if you can just look the other way, like that's the sauce right there. Like the allegory of the cave. You know, like the allegory of the cave, do you guys know what that is? So it's basically people in a cave and they're projecting shadows somewhere, and somebody figures out like, oh, this is a projection, and they manage to get out, and they're out and they're like, man, should I stay out here and be lonely or go back in there and try to convince them, which is going to be really hard, or go back in there and just pretend that I believe that the projections are real, right? So it's like that's kind of where we are in this situation. I feel like just being aware, like being very aware, being so aware that it transcends your judgment, I feel like, because who are we to judge at the end of the day, right? And just being conscious that your attention is your currency. Like your attention, where you decide to place your attention, where your priorities are, what you believe, tus costumbres, like your faith, all of those things, that's gold, like more than gold. That's immeasurable value right there. So doing all that research and like looking back at Christmas and understanding the roots and stuff was super interesting to me. I feel like we're the new norm. So we get to decide what it means to us. A lot of people have figured it out. A lot of people have been known this, and that's why they don't celebrate. Or some people have been known this, and that's why they do celebrate even crazier because it's their time. And then a lot of us are just like us, you know, like, or just like me, that maybe taken into account, they don't really know, but it's a good conversation starter with your auntie that goes to church every day. When she shows up with all the presents, just ask her if she knows why she brought them, and then tell her about Nimrod and see what she says. And just see what she says. Like, don't tell her that I told you, okay? Don't ever bring me up to her.
And then go live at the
Oh yeah.
party while everybody's
And Jay said go live. If you do that, go live and tag El Caile podcast. If your auntie starts spazzing, go live. Yeah. Yeah. I learned a lot of those things when I was Christian, because I was Christian at one point. Like I was a practicing Christian for a few years, and the denomination or the church that I belonged to was really like Puritan. So we learned all that. Like we learned, but also mind you, like I already knew this because I studied like witchcraft when I was younger. So I had an idea of this. So when I heard it in the church, I was like, oh, okay. It kind of like made everything flatter for me, because I feel like going from one like side of the spectrum to the other, like I was literally like reading tarot and casting spells when I was like in 7th grade. Literally. You think like kids are bad and kids do bad shit. Literally, my teachers would have to ban me from the computer lab because I would go in there and look up spells on the computer and write them in my notebook, and then go home and do spells. Or I would find the websites that had like the easier spells and then share them with my friends, and then they would have, you know how they could see what you're doing? They would like have to ban me from the computer lab because they're scared. They're scared of my power.
Okay, Sabrina.
I'm all Harry Potter. They're scared of me. No, but so that was me, you know, like when I was little. And then when I was like 14, 15, I started reading tarot, like for fun. I wasn't serious. Then when I was in high school, then I really started reading tarot. And I learned tarot when I was a teenager, and I kept practicing and all this stuff. And then when I went to Christianity, I was like, oh shit, like a lot of this stuff is kind of the same, especially the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is really, really creepy. Like, dude, se la rifan allá. I like those people. They're fucking. They probably would. Their partners was probably at the Saturday Night turning up. That's the 1% right there, because I feel like that's the people that keep those religion the traditions alive in your face, like in your face. But then they read the scripture and they like, ooh, don't do this, like sing the songs and stuff, but then be like in the robe, take your robe off. Then be like in the robe, like why are you wearing robe? And like, why? Okay, girl, hold on, let me tell you guys, there's this thing, right, at the Catholic Church. Hey, las señoras de la Vera Perpetua, don't come for me, because I have vast knowledge. Like, I understand all of it. And my family's Catholic, and I, like, respect. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. But the Bible clearly states that nothing or no one should be God. Like, God is in heaven. God is omnipotent, but no thing or person is God. Like, no... Like, you can't be like, God is in here, like, worship, like, you can't do that. It says in the scripture, like, it's clear as day. Many scriptures say it. But when you go to Catholic Church, they have the little cookie, and they have it in a little box. And nobody's allowed to go in the little box, except for, like, people that work with the church. So I have it in the little box, and, like, my mom's like, don't be on your phone. And I'm like, why? She's like, porque ahí está Dios. Like, okay, isn't Dios everywhere? He's literally in the cookie, girl. So the cookie's in there. Then they go and they get the cookie out, and they put it in this thing that's, like, really big, and it's like the shape of a sun. The shape of a sun, right? And so they're really big, and then they put the cookie in the middle, the body of Christ, and the sun shaped golden artifact that sits in the little box. Okay, the sun shaped, like spiky. Then the guy, the priest, he puts on like a special dress, and then he goes and picks the thing up, and then he carries it around the church like this, and then people fall in front of it. They fall in front of the cookie, and they fall in front of the cookie, and my mom and people would be like, touching it and like falling over, and like in the cookie, in the little bread. And I'm like, is that weird or no? Is that weird or no? Because it happens a lot. I've been to those churches, like they're called misas de sanación, and they happen all the time. The cookie part is weird to me, but the rest of the stuff is not weird to me. Like, the ladies come and they pray over you, and you you feel the presence of God and everything. Like, I feel like God is there. But they do a lot of physical, mechanical stuff to stir up the spirit. Like, they use a lot of tools, like, not wands, but kind of like wands. And incantations, because it's like when you're praying and you're like, okay, Lord, I love you, like, you're the best, thank you for my life, thank you for my mom, please, like, whatever, you say your prayers. But when you go to that church, they're like, stand up, sit down, say it like this, say it like this. One person says this, the other person says that. Okay, now say this one. Okay, now say the one in the middle. Okay, now let's say the one for the end part. Sounds a lot like the stuff I was writing down in my notebook in 7th grade, if you ask me. Or at least some of the structure, like you do the first part and the second part, and the words are always the same, and they're old, and they don't say those words in the Bible, I don't think. I'm just saying, like, I studied paganism before I went to the Catholic Church, so I'm not saying that it's the same. I'm just saying it's very similar. I'm just saying it's very similar. Like, it's eerily similar. And if you talk to them, if you ask questions, they'll answer the question perfectly. And it'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now. But then when you go home and watch the video again, you're like, wait, hold on. That's not what the video said. Okay, you wanna hear the funniest thing though? Is like the structure is the structure, right? Like the church is the church. Like the government is the government. Like that hierarchy, whatever, where whoever fits in it, and they do the things. But I feel like the people, the people themselves know that it's almost like when you go to work, right? And you're like, I know I'm not supposed to be working 8 hours a day. I know I'm not supposed to be like thirsty for hella long. And then I'm like, okay, when I finish this work, I'll get up and get water. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, you're supposed to just live your life normally and maybe work a little bit and then, I mean, not work at all. But I'm saying, like, you're supposed to take better care of yourself than we do now. And you do it anyways. Like, you drive in the traffic and you fucking pay the taxes and you go to the jury duty and all the things. But you're not that you're not supposed to, but you know that there's a better way, or that there's a more realistic way to live your life, which I feel like everybody in this room, we figured it out. I think similar to that, because I remember one time I went to church because my mom was freaking out and she was like, oh, there's a ghost or something, right? So she was like, go to church and get holy water. So I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing, because I don't know if I'm supposed to like scoop it out of the place where everybody sticks their hand to go like that. And I'm like, okay, what if like it's dirty in there? That's not where I'm supposed to get it. So I'm like, okay, where is it? Like, is there a big tub of holy water somewhere that I don't know about?
They usually have a vending machine in the back. No.
Is there a vending machine somewhere? So I'm like looking for holy water and I'm like, oh my God, like so stressful. And I find the priest and I'm like, hey, I need some holy water. And he was like, why? Don't tell me. Is there a ghost in your house? I'm like, how did you know? Did you send it over there? Because I ain't been here. What did you say? He said what? He said, oh, it must be the good. Oh, it must be the ghost I sent. No, so he was like, oh, don't tell me there's a ghost. Se le mueven las cosas en la casa. Like, he already knew. And I was like, okay, how did you know that? So I was like, where can I get the holy water? He goes, do you have a bucket? And I was like, yeah, I have a bucket. I had a bucket. He goes, go to the literally the hose, bitch. Go to the hose and fill up the bucket. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I got a hose at home. I could have filled this bucket up. So I go get the bucket. And then he goes, close your eyes and pray. I was like, you're telling me I came all the way here for you to tell me to go to the hose and pray over the bucket water or whatever, bro. So I'm listening to this man because he's in the robe and all the things that I don't have, right? So my mom's telling me, go get the holy water. So I go. He says, close your eyes and pray. So I'm like, close my eyes. And he's just... And I'm praying. And he's like, are you praying? I say, yeah, I'm praying. He's like, okay, I'm praying. He's like, did you pray? I'm like, yes, I prayed. He goes, okay, take that water home to your mom and tell her to bless your home. He knew that we're stupid. Like, he knows. He knows, like, he knows. He's in there. He goes, he picks up the cookie. He doesn't let nobody near the cookie. He goes and does the incense and puts on the robe and does the spells and everything. And he made me go get the bucket water. And I prayed for it. I could have been like, this is so stupid. I hate my mom. I hope the ghost comes back. Like, he doesn't know that.
Yeah, but then you don't have the ghost. You got unholy water.
So I guess again, back to the original point. Your devotion, your attention, your intention, what you pay attention to, what you give your time to, like that energy that you put towards something is your currency. That's the currency right there. So even if part of it is going to participating in mass hysteria, which shoot, this year, girl, it is the holidays over here, okay? We're in the holiday spirit, okay? Shout out Saturnalia because it's the lit at Caile podcast for the holidays. But even if you are, to just be aware and to make sure that you're dispersing your energy, your devotion, your attention appropriately for your ideal lifestyle, and that you're not just getting caught up in the whirlwind of shit, and now you're fighting for the TV that you are gonna buy on credit because you gotta go back to work in January and your job might fire you or you might get laid, So don't get so caught up, and understand that this is a peasant's holiday. This is a peasant's holiday. This is a holiday where the peasants got to turn up. And I feel like if you have that information, you also have the ability to create new definitions for things. We're the new adults, right? So we have the power and the responsibility to make new traditions. This is my new tradition, is that I'm going to ask all my musician friends to do a holiday jingle every year for the holidays. So start writing your Christmas songs. Today's musical guests are OG Dave and DTV.
What's going on, y'all? Happy holidays.
What's happening, y'all? Happy holidays. Shout out to the Caile podcast. Shout out Gabriela. We up in this thing going crazy, you feel me? I'm finna turn up on time for y'all. Merry Christmas. Where my homie Santa with the gifts? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, do a flyby. Going in the flash, he'll be done by sunrise. Where my homie Santa with the gift? Where he at? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, 3rd time charm. Imagine all the joy that we'll feel in the morning. Bells ringing angelic, spirit in my bones, angels in the snow, airports packed, people trying to make it home, gifts in a sack, whole city in a globe, shovels in the street, sprinkle salt at our feet, ice skating where you step, I'm as jolly as it gets, dressed in all red, stuffing treats in a stocking, hella gingerbread, peppermints, milk chocolate, rich city chili, trench coat scarf with the Gucci print silky, drug a whole treat through the crib, the rug filthy, gumbo on the porch, rolling up some mistletoe, is colder than a snotty nose, Where my homie Santa with the gifts? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, do a flyby. Going in the flash, he'll be done by sunrise. Hey, where my homie Santa with the gifts? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, 3rd time charm. Imagine all the joy that we'll feel by tomorrow. Sleigh bells singing with chestnuts overheat. Cookies and milk, I'm trying to eye my BMI, but they taste so sweet, man. I do this every time, every holiday season. I gotta watch my waistline, but it's fine. Matchbox cars and Lego sets for the kiddos. Santa big stepping on the roof like the fiddler. Snowflakes dancing in the lights like crystals. Hot cocoa with marshmallows, is you with it? Ornaments hanging like decorations. Happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa to all my neighbors. Holiday cheer to all my people that need it. I'm filled with the spirit, I share with those who receive it. Wait, where my homie Santa with the gifts? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, do a flyby. Going in the morning, he'll be done by sunrise. Hey, where my homie Santa with the gifts? Where he at? He told me that he double-checked the list. 1 time, 2 time, 3rd time charm. Imagine all the joy that we'll feel in the morning. Is the weed still lit up? Yeah, the weed still lit up. Oh yeah. Hey, hey. Is the weed still lit up? Yeah, the weed still lit up. Oh yeah. Happy holidays, y'all. Is the weed still lit up? Yeah, the weed still lit up. Oh yeah. Hey, hey. Is the weed still lit up? Yeah, the weed still lit up. Oh yeah. Yes, Lord. Happy holidays, everybody. OG Dave in the building, Rich City in the house. Shout out Caile Podcast. Appreciate y'all. Yee. Hey, hey.